Hi everybody, it is February 1st and that means it's time for my monthly recap video, and a lot of stuff happened in January that I'm really excited to share. One of the things that has carried over from December is that I had my very first viral video, and that means I've had a whole bunch of new subscribers, and it's been really great to hear from new people in the comments and to see just the numbers of views and everything just kind of bump up a little bit. So anyone that's new to the channel, welcome. And anybody who's been with me for a while, thanks for sticking with me. I hope you're enjoying what you're seeing. And if you haven't said hello in the comments yet, please do. I love hearing from people down there. Any questions, whatever. Encouragement, tips, tricks, anything really. Just to say hi, leave a comment, and I'll always respond. So I'm hiding over here by the fig tree underneath this thing because the sun is coming over the building, and it's a really weird time of the day where it makes it hard to see the board. So you can probably see that the sun is coming, and I'm going to try to race against that before it blinds me. So before I get into the update, I just wanted to point out that below I have some links to ways that you can help support the channel. First things first, just by watching, that's wonderful. Letting the ads run is great. And then I also have a Patreon below. I don't do anything extra on the Patreon. It's just there for anybody that might want to give a couple dollars a month in support and doesn't want to go through the hassle of remembering. So that's down there. I have PayPal, and I have a super thanks thing down there as well. So if you really like my stuff and want to support the channel a little bit more, those are all the ways to do it. But just watching and leaving comments is also wonderful. And I just want to say thank you. I feel like the most wonderful viewers out there, and reading through my comments just always makes me feel really happy. It's just a nice place to go to feel good about myself. It feels like a lot of people appreciate what I'm doing, and I appreciate you guys letting me know that. So enough dithering on about that stuff. Let's get into the update from January. The Pergola was the star of the show in January. I've been pushing on with this thing like mad. So I finally planned the layout. I didn't actually do a drawing. I sort of referenced an old drawing that I did ages ago, which is sort of more of an artistic representation, but it did help me visualize things, and that old drawing was actually pretty much in line with what I have in mind now, even though I did change the materials. I got some different stones and changed the layout of the front posts as well, but other than that, it just helped me see things and made me more confident pushing forward. And then I basically did loads and loads of digging. The front of the house is pretty much kind of a pile of slopey dirt, and I needed to hack away at some of that to be able to lay the foundation for this porch wall that I want to put in. So lots of digging, lots of wheelbarrowing, and just preparing the base of that. And then this has been ongoing. I've been doing this all month, basically trying to find stones, chopping them to size, and putting them in place. So I've been mixing up batches of cement and sticking the stones in place, doing loads and loads of angle grinding. It's dusty. It's not very enjoyable work when I'm doing it, but once I actually have the stones laid in place, I feel really good because they're just going to be there for the foreseeable future. And it's always nice to work on something when you know it's going to be there for the long term. Sanded wood. So the pergola has two components. One is the porch, which is the stonework, and one is the actual pergola itself, the structure, which is going to be a timber frame, Douglas fir structure with two posts, a beam across, and then rafters coming off from the house. So I started to prepare the wood, and that meant a lot of sanding. So I got the belt sander out, and I just went for it on the bits of wood that I'm going to be using, which is quite an enjoyable job actually. And then cut the tenons. So tenons are the sticky outy bits, and mortises are the inny bits. So the tenons are actually quite enjoyable to cut, and I made some of those on the top of the two posts that I'm going to have, and then the beam will sit on top of those tenons. So I cut the tenons, and then I also cut one mortise so far. I'm not going to do the second one until I'm completely certain about the spacing of the posts, and that depends on the porch. So one mortise has been cut and two tenons, and the mortise is more of a pain in the neck to do, but I did it, and it fits with one of the posts, so that's good. And then I placed the very first step in this porch structure, and that's kind of a big deal because up until this point I've basically been slipping and sliding down a bunch of stones and little rocks as I come out of the front door, so it's pretty treacherous. And having stairs there is just kind of made a big difference. I put the first step in place, and you'll see the other 2 steps go in tomorrow's video. So all of this stuff has been a lot of work, but it's one of these jobs where I just, every day after I finish doing some stuff on the porch, I just stand back and sort of marvel at it and just sort of look at it and see the vision and ponder, and it's just kind of a weirdly enjoyable thing to do. Okay, so that's the pergola. All the other jobs are over on this side, and the first one is I gave Sinead a little chainsaw lesson. Should I be giving a lesson in chainsawing? Probably not, but it's a little Makita electric chainsaw, and she's never used one before, so I got a chainsaw lesson from a friend of mine who really knows his stuff, and I passed on my knowledge to her. And so now we both know how to chainsaw. We can both look after our own firewood, and it's just great for pruning trees, and it's just handy to know how to chainsaw. I'm really happy to have had a lesson, and I think she's happy with this knowledge as well. I also repotted an aloe vera plant that's been sitting around for years, and it has probably 15 or so babies in it, and I finally liberated the babies, put them into new pots, sent one of them down to Sinead's, and I've got a couple more around the place as well, and the mother plant is looking a lot happier. And it's just one of these jobs that was on my list for a really long time, and I finally crossed it off, and so that feels pretty good. I also picked up my car, so this isn't actually massively exciting. It's not like it's work that I did, but I just wanted to put this on the list because I wanted to point out that there's always these things that come up that are annoying. So I'm lucky that I can use Sinead's car if mine is broken, but it is one of these things that happens, and you kind of have to keep in mind with your budget and your plans that things can go awry when you least expect them, and you just kind of have to plan in for that. So the car luckily only cost about 130 euros. It was a problem with the key barrel. I know a lot of you were giving suggestions about what I could try, and that's what it ended up being. So something about the end of the key barrel wasn't connecting with something or other, so I had to replace the whole thing. So if anyone out there was wondering about my car, that's the problem. The car is back safe in the driveway, and it's all good for the moment, but that thing is from 1997, so it's gonna die one day, and I don't look forward to that day, but for the moment, she's all good. And it's not all work all the time around here. I went for a mountain walk with some friends up the Gardenias, which is the mountain range that I'm actually on the side of. So I'm kind of closer to the bottom. The valley down there extends down, and then behind me is the Gardenia mountain range. So we went up with a few friends, a bunch of dogs, and just had a little explore up there. And it's kind of crazy that I've never been up there before for a walk because, as I said, I'm literally on the side of this mountain. I'm standing on it right now, and I haven't really done much exploring. So it is really easy to get into the zone on your own land and just get caught up with your projects and with what you're doing, and forget to go out and have some fun and explore and look around. So I'm hoping 2025 is the year where maybe I actually go on a road trip, maybe do some traveling around Portugal a little bit. So heading up the mountain for a walk was the start of that, perhaps. Finished the window box prep. So window guy, who was missing, has been missing since November, finally reappeared, and he brought the window frame without the windows in it to just test it for the size. It was a little too big, so we had to make some new measurements and adjustments, but it was a small fix. But when he came, I was reminded that there was a portion of the window sill that I had to fix before he could do the install. So I got the router out, and I just worked on that with the chisels and the router and created a little bit more space for the window frame to sit. And that was the final prep I needed to be able to accept the window into my life, but he was still a missing person after that for a couple of weeks. So in the meantime, since it was raining loads, I decided to shift my attention inside to a shelf kind of in between my living area and on top of the shower. This shelf has been sitting in the corner for ages, mostly made, but I hadn't yet attached it because I guess I just hadn't gotten around to it, and I had to do something weird with hinges to be able to open and close it because I have lights in the bottles underneath the shelf. So it was a little bit more of an involved project than just attaching the shelf. And I finally got around to it, and I feel really good about it. I'm happy with how it looks. It opens and closes really well, and I need to actually replace the lights that are in those bottles so I can have my cool feature where you turn on the light, and then you've got some lights shining through from the shower into the living space, which I'll show you in some future video once I get those done. But my point is that it's a project, much like the aloe vera plant, that's been on my mind for ages and in the way as well. And I finally got it done, and that feels good. But what feels even better than anything, really, is the fact that the window guy finally reappeared with the finished window, and he and his buddy installed it. And honestly, it was wonderful to see this thing go in. There were a few issues with the window that I discovered. It lets water in, and so the joy of having the window was a bit muted by the fact that it wasn't doing its windowly duties. A window should really keep the water out. It doesn't have to do a lot. A window doesn't have to do very much, but keeping the water out seems to be the bare minimum. And sadly, it didn't do that. But I reached out to him, and they actually came the other day and did a bunch of repairs to what I suspect the problem is. And he's got a couple more things to do as well, which he'll do, I think, later today. So I'll have an update on the window water tightness in a future video. I'm definitely going to be testing that thing out, and I'll share that with you when I do. They also installed a screen, and I'm actually really happy with how the screen looks. I was a little concerned that it might look really weird because the original screen he bought me was kind of a funny color, but it looks good, and I'm really happy with it, and you'll see that in tomorrow's video. Limed the sides of the windowsill. So inside the window, I did loads of work on the outside of the window, making the stone frame, and on the inside of the window, there's still a lot to do as well, including finishing off the windowsill, the wooden sill, waterproofing it and everything. But before I do that, I had a lot of liming to do on the sides to cover up the stones, to round the edges, and to just finish off that interior part. And then once I do that, I'll finish off the sill. A lot of people have asked me about the scratches that I put into the lime after I finish. That's not the final coat. The final coat will be smooth, but the final rendering will be something I do at the very end of my build, probably all at once, hopefully when I'm a little bit more skilled at rendering. I've done lots of base layers, but the base layers can be covered up, so you don't have to be super skilled to do those. But once I get around to the final rendering, I'm really hoping I can do a really good job. And so the scratching is just to allow that next layer to stick. And I don't really know when I'm going to get to that next layer. So for the moment, it's just a scratchy looking wall, but in the future, it'll be nice and smooth. Yeah, so down here, I discovered the window leaks. I already talked about that. So he's going to be fixing stuff. You'll see his progress on that in the next video, but I feel confident that he's going to get it done, because I'm not going to pay him until this window keeps the water out. So that's a pretty good incentive to leave me as a happy customer. But we're buddies, everything's amicable. I'm a pretty patient person, and I feel like when it's done, I'm going to be happy. So I'll just have to wait a little bit longer, and it doesn't look like it's going to rain for the next couple weeks anyway. So, so far, all good, and hopefully he can fix the problem later today. Finished pointing on the front. So I do pointing in little bits and pieces here and there, and the front of the house has been mostly finished for a while, but there was one little bit on the right-hand side that had to be done, and I wanted to finish that off because I wanted to move the gas bottle box from the front of the house into the side garden. So I finished the pointing, which was great. I think it looks really good. And then I also made a little base in this garden, dug down, put some cinder blocks down there, and then I put the bottle box over there to the side. So it's kind of hidden away, and what that does is just give me a lot more space for putting a table, entertaining, just gives me more flexibility in the front of the porch area. And then, last but not least, I had a GoPro disaster. I film on a GoPro, and I had it, I don't know what happened, it fell off the little mini tripod I have, and it was on the gravel, and then I moved one of those giant granite stones. I think I forgot, or I didn't notice that it had fallen, and I put the stone on the camera, completely smashing the front and the back. And so the back's not massively an issue, I can get by with that, but the front piece was all shattered, and I ended up having to remove that. So right now the camera lens is totally exposed, there's no protection, and it makes me very nervous for dropping this thing, and I'm gonna put a stop to filming until I can get a replacement. But fortunately, it was only 20 euros and it's on the way and should be with me in a couple days. So when this happened, I was really nervous. I thought I might have to buy a whole new camera, but as it turns out, it's a quick fix and a lesson learned to always be aware where your GoPro is when you're moving giant stones. So lesson learned the hard way, but it could have been a lot worse. The camera still works fine and it's gonna be all good. So that's a wrap on my January updates. February plans: more pergola, all the time in February, with a little bit of time spent on the land. I had intended on doing some land stuff in January, but I just got really absorbed with the stonework and kept pushing forward on that. So yeah, so that's gonna keep me busy. I really wanna get the pergola done in February, including the woodwork. So I've got a big task ahead and I'm looking forward to it. And as far as the land goes, this is sort of the time of year to be doing pruning. And every year I say it, I'm gonna prune my olive trees, and last year I think I did 1. So if I can prune 2 olive trees this year, I'll be happy. And then I also have some lime trees and some other fruit trees that need a bit of attention as well. So that's all from me. The sun is creeping in over the house. It's about to go in my eyes, but so far, so good. So I'm gonna wrap everything up. I've got another video out for you tomorrow with more pergola work and some other fun stuff as well. And yeah, I just wanted to remind everybody that I've switched things up a little bit, and I'm not doing regular Friday videos. I'm doing videos as I finish the content. So rather than feeling the pressure of having to do something every Friday, it means that I can put the videos out as I finish them, and that probably means that I'm gonna actually end up doing more videos each month as well, and hopefully they're more interesting, rather than sometimes feeling that I have to make a video where maybe I don't have enough content to actually do something that's entertaining. So let's see how that goes. I'm gonna ride that out for the next couple of months, and we'll just see. But that's all for me. I'm waffling on as usual. I hope you enjoyed the recap. Any comments, questions, if you just want to say hi, whatever, please leave me a message below. And I'll see you tomorrow for my next video.